The first thing you notice when you play the original Yoshi's Island is its unique art style. The whole game looks like it was drawn with paper and pens. Fast forward 30 years and we've had Yoshi games where everything's made of yarn, or where the world looks like a child's craft project. And in the newest game, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, each level looks like an illustration come to life, with stop-motion animations and watercolor artwork. So, why does every Yoshi game look so different? Well, in this video, I want to answer that very question. We'll look at how the series got its start with pens and paper, how Yoshi's developers have brought realistic yarn and crafts to life, and how Yoshi and the Mysterious Book pushes things even further. Part 1. Not like Donkey Kong. Yoshi's first starring role may have been Yoshi's Island, but before we get there, we need to look at when the character was first created. For years, Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto had been telling his colleagues at Nintendo, "I want Mario to ride a horse." He even had a drawing of Mario on a horse on the wall by his desk. On the original NES, this idea was just too complex to pull off. But when the Super NES came along a few years later, the idea of a horseback Mario was finally within reach. The setting of Super Mario World was Dinosaur Land, and so rather than a horse, the game's director, Takashi Tezuka, thought that some kind of lizard or crocodile would fit in better. Except when Tezuka saw this idea in action, he didn't like it. It felt out of place to have a reptile suddenly appear in Mario's world, so we went back and talked about how maybe it shouldn't be like a crocodile. Tezuka worked together with the game's artist, Shigefumi Hino, to come up with a friendlier concept. And after a few iterations, they landed on this, Yoshi's final design. When Super Mario World launched, Yoshi was an instant hit. Players loved the green dino, and Nintendo wasn't ready to ditch him right away. According to Tezuka, we wanted to give Yoshi his own standalone series, rather than him just being something that Mario rides. It was around this time that Donkey Kong Country was deep in development. The game was created by British studio Rare, who pioneered a cutting-edge 3D pre-rendered look. Donkey Kong Country looked truly next generation, and seeing the game sent shockwaves through the Yoshi development team. Could they pull off something like this? Was this what the future of games looked like? Well, according to Yoshi creator Shigefumi Hino, development of Yoshi's Island had already progressed past the point where we could adopt that style of graphics. So we decided to take up the challenge with visuals that were the exact opposite of the style in Donkey Kong Country. We wanted to fight back by thoroughly pursuing a hand-drawn style. It was left to the game's artist, Hisashi Nogami, to figure out exactly how to pull off this ambitious art style. Nogami had literally only joined Nintendo that year, and he spent his first few weeks at the company experimenting with how best to create a hand-drawn art style for Yoshi's Island. He explained in an interview, "We did a number of trials where we'd think, okay, let's do some actual hand-drawn drawings, scan those, and then figure out how we can turn them into Super Nintendo graphics. We hit on a way we could take these scanned-in images and get them on screen and keep them looking like hand-drawn images." In short, this process involved painstakingly replicating the scanned images using pixel art, one pixel at a time. It was a completely manual process. The result of all this work was Yoshi's Island, a game with a totally unique look. There's no other SNES game that looks quite like Yoshi's Island, and this helped set the game apart from series like Donkey Kong Country. Both titles had unique art styles on the opposite ends of the spectrum. One was realistic and 3D, the other was stylized and hand-drawn. The big question was, if Nintendo was to keep making Yoshi games, what should those games look like? The same as Yoshi's Island? Or should Nintendo further evolve the look and feel of the series? Part 2. The in-between years. In the years after Yoshi's Island, Nintendo tried a few times to find the right look for Yoshi going forward. The first try was Yoshi's Story. Once work finished on Yoshi's Island, the development team moved over to the N64, Nintendo's new home console. The whole point of the N64 was 3D. Series like Mario made the jump from flat side-scrolling to full 3D exploration. But 3D games could be difficult for new gamers, so Nintendo didn't want to give up on 2D gaming entirely. According to Shigeru Miyamoto, when we started development for Nintendo 64, we wanted to make a kind of 2.5-dimension game, because this would be easier for the consumers to start playing with. Eventually, we finally decided that this game would be Yoshi's Story. Now, rather than reuse the same art style as Yoshi's Island, for this new Yoshi game, the team wanted to try something new. Miyamoto described the look of Yoshi's Story as cardboard art, which describes it well, I think. Levels, backgrounds, obstacles, they all look like realistic cardboard objects. If the original Yoshi's Island was meant to look like illustrations from a book, Yoshi's Story is instead like a pop-up book. After Yoshi's Story came out in 1997 though, the Yoshi series ended up kind of rudderless. All kinds of external development teams tried their hand at making Yoshi games. Yoshi's Topsy-Turvy on the Game Boy Advance, Yoshi's Island DS on the DS, and Yoshi's New Island on the 3DS. All of these games tried to recapture the kind of storybook feel of the original two Yoshi games, but to limited success, I think. Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Story featured innovative, exciting art styles that tried doing something new. These later Yoshi games just felt like pale imitations. But it was around this time that a new game came along, not a Yoshi game at all, which would end up inspiring a new and innovative era for Yoshi. Part 3. A new developer. Let me introduce you to a game studio called Goodfeel. Goodfeel was founded in 2005 and soon struck up a close relationship with Nintendo. First, they developed Wario Land Shake It, before moving on to Kirby's Epic Yarn. Both of these games feature distinctive art styles. Wario Land has a hand-drawn aesthetic, while Kirby's Epic Yarn features a world where everything, including Kirby, looks as if it's made of wool. At the time, Takashi Tezuka, producer of the Yoshi series, happened to see Kirby's Epic Yarn, and he had a flash of inspiration. He said, "I was so impressed by the aesthetics of Kirby's Epic Yarn that I thought it would be a good idea to ask Goodfeel to create a Yoshi game with me. I approached them and suggested we make an action game using yarn and craft materials in their stunning visual style." Initially, this project took on a very similar look to Kirby's Epic Yarn, with 2D shapes outlined in wool. But while thinking of power-ups, the idea of Yoshi transforming into a plush came up, and before long, the team decided to embrace this knitted look for not just Yoshi, but the whole game world. And when Yoshi's Woolly World came to Wii U in 2015, it was a real success. It brought a brand new, innovative art style back to Yoshi after years of stagnation, and critics loved it. So it only made sense to continue the partnership between Nintendo and Goodfeel. According to Masahiro Yamamoto from Goodfeel, we started talking to Nintendo before the release of the Switch. At the time, Nintendo asked us if we wanted to make something new for the Yoshi series. Goodfeel accepted this suggestion and began thinking about what kind of Yoshi game to make next. With the Switch being a portable system, it lent itself well to multiplayer gaming, and a Goodfeel designer came up with an idea. What if two people could put their Switches back to back to see the front and back of a level? This idea then led directly to the game's unique art style. According to Goodfeel's president, Etsunobu Ebisu, once we started considering the motif that would fit best with this two-sided concept, we landed on the idea of a crafted look. Viewing crafts from their flip sides would let you see how they were put together. And so, Goodfeel set out to make a handcrafted looking Yoshi game. The idea was that levels would be made entirely of objects found in everyday life. In fact, the team at Goodfeel went as far as creating real physical objects like cereal boxes and cookie tins to use as models for the game world. They drew up lots of concept art too, to help map out how these crafted objects would fit together to form actual levels. But getting the look of the game right was difficult. Ebisu explained, "Creating this sort of aesthetic was very difficult, and we had a hard time nailing the look we wanted at the beginning of development." In the end, the team at Goodfeel made a decision. Their past projects with Nintendo had been built using custom game engines, but for Yoshi's Crafted World, they switched over to Unreal Engine, an off-the-shelf piece of software used to build all kinds of modern games. Unreal has lots of built-in shaders, materials, and lighting effects, which Goodfeel used to make sure their crafted objects looked realistic. Ebisu reflected, "You really need to get the details right when trying to make crumpled up paper or paint splotches look convincing in a game, and players also need to be able to tell at a glance what type of materials they're seeing on screen." Unreal Engine made it easy to make adjustments to the visuals and allowed us to produce textures we were satisfied with. Finally, there was Yoshi himself. In Woolly World, Yoshi had been made of wool. But for Crafted World, Goodfeel initially just used the standard Yoshi design. However, it looked out of place in a miniature world of cereal boxes and bottle tops. So they switched over to a Yoshi made of flocking. Flocking is a process used in homemade crafts where you stick lots of little fibers to an object. It gives it a soft, handmade look, which ended up fitting perfectly into the crafted world that Goodfeel had created. In the end, Goodfeel ditched their multiplayer game idea, but the crafted look and two-sided levels remained when Yoshi's Crafted World launched in 2019. With two Yoshi games under their belt, both with unique and interesting art styles, the partnership between Nintendo and Goodfeel was clearly a fruitful one. For their next Yoshi game, Goodfeel decided to take on their most ambitious art style yet. Part 4. The Future of Yoshi. In September 2025, Nintendo revealed the newest game in the Yoshi series, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. This game took on a stop-motion, illustrated art style, complete with colours that fade out towards the edge of the level and scraps of text in the background. The game looks truly gorgeous. Behind the scenes, Mysterious Book marked a big change for the Yoshi series. Yes, the game was the newest product of the Nintendo Goodfeel partnership, but on the Nintendo side, a new era was beginning. For decades, the producer of the Yoshi series had been Takashi Tezuka, but in 2026, it was announced that Tezuka would be retiring from Nintendo. And so, alongside Tezuka, Mysterious Book has a new producer, Hisashi Nogami. Nogami had been the man in charge of figuring out the hand-drawn visuals of the original Yoshi's Island way back in the 90s, but in the years since, he shepherded Splatoon and Animal Crossing to massive success. And with his return to Yoshi, he brought a fresh perspective. In Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, levels don't feature that classic get-to-the-goal setup. Instead, they're more like sandboxes, where players can discover all kinds of mysterious phenomena. From a gameplay perspective, Mysterious Book is unlike any other Nintendo platformer. But when it comes to the art, the game marks a return to the hand-drawn aesthetic that made early Yoshi games so memorable. Good Feel upgraded from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, meaning that the studio had access to some cutting-edge features to get their desired look up and running. It has a gorgeous watercolor palette and flickering outlines around creatures and objects. And using tricks like limited frame rate animation, the game world feels hand-drawn, like a sketchbook come to life. Etsunobu Ebisu reflected in an interview, "Our company is really good at bringing graphical motifs to life. I think that strength is really on show in this new Yoshi game." So over the past 30 years, the Yoshi series has jumped between all kinds of different art styles. And I think that's very intentional. After all, the reason Takashi Tezuka asked Good Feel to create Woolly World is because of the company's experience in working with different art styles. It's something that Yoshi's developers clearly take pride in. But those art styles aren't chosen at random. Crafted World is, well, crafted so that when you see levels from the other side, you can see how they're made. And the Mysterious Book is all about discovering new, strange creatures, so the game world is designed to look like the pages of an encyclopedia. This series never stops experimenting, reinventing itself. And with the partnership between Nintendo and Good Feel strong as ever, I can't wait to see what's next for Yoshi, and what art style the series will take on next. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Videos like these are made possible thanks to my kind patrons, including Arthur Nicole, Brett Prophet, Daryl Gero, Duran Lee, Esther Lopez, Fresh Poetic, Jim Gilsonan, Kieran Chan, Kanugu, Lucas Little, May I, Michael Gunter, Rabinstick, Skater Pie, and Thomas Söderlund.